Yes, the people, how we doing? So, let us jump into this shit and do some physique comparisons to start with. So, on the left, we have the initial physique update, which is October the 15th, 2018. On the right, we have the final physique update, which was April the 14th, 2019, so they're exactly 6 months apart. So, on the left, I was 173.6 pounds, as seen on the scales there, and on the right I was 186.2 pounds, so that's almost 13 pounds difference. And to me, just my initial reaction would be, I would have thought that 13 pounds would have been more significant visually, in terms of it just would have been more noticeable. Now obviously you have to account for any gains that I made on my legs. Looking back, I really should have included those in the physique update. And then obviously any fat that I've gained on my back or again on my legs. So I'm just going to roll through these real quick and freeze it at a few places when I've tried to match the pose. See if we can see any difference. So side pose, now you can't really see much. Let's go to the next one. Spin it around to the back. I feel like maybe you can see a little bit of extra width on the right, or maybe it's just how I'm standing. Like, it really is hard to tell. Okay, flip it around to the front again, and I'm going to freeze it on this pose. So yeah, I think you can see some general thickness, maybe in the arms. It's really hard to tell anything because obviously I look a bit thicker on the right, but then you do have to account for just being generally fuller from being higher cal and higher carbs, and then obviously body fat contributing to that overall thickness as well. So what you're trying to do is look at each and imagine, if the right was as lean as the left, would there be any difference in actual muscle mass? So maybe to look at that a little bit more closely, we will check some stats. Okay, so we're going to look at body weight and muscle mass. So the muscle mass is given as a percentage on the scales, which is this column, and then I've obviously just applied that percentage to the body weights given to get the total muscle mass as an actual figure in this column. So we have all the weights I've taken here, and these are represented by points on the blue line, and then we have all those calculated muscle mass figures, and they are represented by points on the red line. So you can see early on, obviously I'm not weighing myself very often, down to like once a month for the first 4 weigh-ins, and that's absolutely atrocious behavior, and do not follow my example for tracking a bulk that way, because you just get nothing out of it. So after that point, on the 18th of the 1st, going to the 22nd of the 3rd, represented by the gap between this point here and this point here, that was my time spent away traveling. So that's why there's a big gap there between, I didn't take my scales away with me, and I feel like just jumping on random scales, it's, if they're even a little bit out from your scales, it's not really the best measure. You should really be keeping your set of scales consistent throughout your whole bulk or cut, if that's the case. So let's go from the start. My weight has gone up a few pounds in the first month, pretty normal as to be expected. Second month, it's absolutely shot up here, and honestly I have no idea what happened there. That was just completely out of nowhere, and I suppose it just goes to show how random your weight can actually behave. See, through the whole 6 months, I've pretty much been eating intuitively. Towards the end, when I started struggling to gain weight, I started tracking a few days here and there, and like I'd get up to tracking maybe like 4 days a week sometime. But this part, I was just eating all these 4 months. I was just eating as I pleased, and so it's crazy to see that results in like such an increase in weight gain between 1 month and then over Christmas for it to level off. So as I say, this gap here represents about 6 or 7 weeks I was away traveling, and my body weight there, it looks like it's gone down a little bit. It looks like my total muscle mass has gone down quite a lot, but I don't really, some of this must be a bit erroneous, because I don't really believe that then after that your lean mass can jump up so far between the 22nd and the 29th in 1 week, down, up. It just seems very wild fluctuations for muscle mass. I don't think you gain or lose muscle mass this fast. Anyway, as you can see, it was generally increases early on from both, a bit of a plateau and leveling off, and then right towards the end seeing some more increases there. So what I've done with this last part of the graph is actually just plot those separately. So you can see those down here. So these are all the weights from when I got back. Again, you can see a bit of up and down, and then generally an upward trend towards the end. It's actually kind of satisfying that both of the highest readings came as the actual final reading. Maybe that was some conscious eating a shitload on my part there. So overall, a difference of 12.6 pounds there between the first and last weight. In terms of muscle mass, there's a difference of 2.5 pounds. So it's like, obviously there's error involved. This is all according to the scales. It looks like I've gained almost 3% body fat. And so yeah, looking at that initially, you would probably say that that's quite a poor ratio of total body weight gained compared to total muscle mass gained. Now, that's not necessarily an example of what you could expect, because obviously that's affected by at what stage in your overall kind of lifting career you are at. If you're earlier on and you're young and quite new to lifting and going to be quite responsive to it, you can certainly hope for a much better ratio of lean mass to overall mass gain throughout the course of your gaining phase. All right, next up, we're just going to have a quick look at some strength changes over the course of this bulk. So I'm going to open up the tab that relates to my flat barbell presses in my bulking program. If you don't understand all of this here, and if this makes no sense to you, then I would encourage you to go back and watch the first episode of this series, and I'll go through my actual training here and then how I've planned to track my lifts. So what you need to know for this video is that these are estimated 1 rep maxes based on the lifts that I've done here. And so I've plotted each of these. So rotation 1 is 10 reps, rotation 2 is predominantly 8 reps, and rotation 3 is predominantly 5 reps. As you can see there, rotation 1, rotation 2, rotation 3. And so what I've done is I've plotted these all separately, because I don't think you can really equate lifts from different rep ranges too easily. So what I've done is plot them separately on the same graph so that you can see a general trend. So I'm going to go into here and I'm going to go on strength lift 1. So these are all the lifts. So these just represent workout numbers for each rotation, but essentially you can look at them as dates. So you can look at this as a general chronological order. So there's one missing here from when I went to Dublin and was off my usual training split, and apart from that, pretty much all tracked. You can see that gap is there. So the blue line represents my sets of 10 from rotation 1, green line rotation 2, sets of 8, and then red line rotation 3, sets of 5. So as we can see, again, actually quite similar to the weight increases. Quite sharp, quite steady improvements early on. I think it will have been around this point that I initially went on that 6-week trip. And so a bit steady, maybe a drop on that one. It may have just been a bad day, and then back up, and then towards the end start going up a little bit again in these last few weeks. Alright, so I'm just going to talk about the bulk a little bit. I'm going to summarize shit. I'm going to preempt some questions that you might have, go through some general talking points, and just evaluate the whole shit, man. So first point is, was it worth it? And to answer that question, I need to really talk about why I did it in the first place. So a few reasons in no particular order, just off the top of my head. Number 1, curiosity, really. I was just curious to see what would happen to my physique. Can I actually stick to it, or am I just in the fucking Instagram leanness vortex of peace? Just what would it be like, man? Aside from curiosity, obviously gaining muscle is always a goal with a bulk. Like, that's nice. Who doesn't want to be a little bit bigger? Like, just general universal goal for all of us in it, just be a little bit bigger, man. So that was obviously there. What else? Just to take a break from kind of cutting and being, not that I was always cutting, but I was always like conscious of being lean, man. And I just wanted to take a break from it, because too much of anything gets kind of fucking boring and tedious, doesn't it? And so just wanted to take a break from that and eat a shit ton, because eating a shit ton is actually, turns out it's really fun, man. For a while anyway, until you start having to, and then it gets no fun anymore, but we can talk about that. So on those levels, was it worth it? I would say, yeah, I'm pretty happy. You know, obviously I satisfied my curiosity. In terms of the actual muscle mass gained, we won't be able to know really until I actually get lean, and then I can compare my summer physique from this year versus last year versus all previous lean physiques of mine. I'm quietly confident about that. I don't want to be loudly confident about it, but that's essentially what I'm doing anyway by talking about it in a YouTube video. But yeah, I'm quietly confident on that, so I'm excited to kind of get lean eventually. Yeah, I think it was kind of worth it. Like, the thing is, like, because my motives like were mainly like just curious, and I kind of view it as an experiment. It's like I didn't expect too much or need anything out of it. I'm not at a place where I'm like, shit, I need to be bigger. Like, I'm like, yeah, it'd be nice, man. It'd be nice to have the like bit rounder delts, right? But it'd just be nice, like same way like a Solero would be nice right now, or So I would say it's worth it. All right, next point. Do I think I hit my genetic limit? No. I think you can see from those graphs, from those is that a graph or a chart? I think you can see from those that even towards the end, I was still making progress, both in terms of like weight, muscle mass, and my lifts as well. And so I'm certainly not at my genetic limit. Like, that would just be arrogant of me to think, really, because it would be equivalent to saying I'm doing 100% everything I possibly can, and that's just not the way my life is set up. Now, I certainly think I'm close to a kind of other. So you know how you have like the actual universe, and then you have like the observable universe. Well, that's how I see like my genetic limit, and then like the realistic limit, like the limit within the constraints of what you want your life to be like. I think I'm pretty close to that, just by the fact that like I kind of have to really work hard to stay at this kind of body weight and to maintain that, and that's just not something that I envisage my life being like, really. So that's pretty much that. Yeah, answer is no. All right, what I learned. So I suppose I need to like impart some wisdom now, but I better make some up quick. My main takeaway would probably be like more of a kind of psychological one, just to let go a bit. I mean, I think I'm pretty relaxed these days and pretty chill about my physique anyway. I know like it's easy to kind of assume that everyone like who's like lean or like in fitness and on Instagram has some kind of like body image disorder or whatever, and like, I think I'm pretty chill about it anyway. I think I'm pretty fucking comfortable, to be honest. I'm just a human, man. I'm just a human. There's plenty about me that could be better aesthetically, like, but I'm not arsed really, because values between the ears, mate. And so like, but even with that said, like, I still probably learned to let go a bit. Like, it still probably helped me to like kind of let go of being lean a little bit. Not that I want to. Not that I'm saying like, oh, I'm not gonna go back to being lean. I'm gonna get fucking ruthlessly diced up. But it's still nice to not be attached to shit, man. In terms of like practical stuff, what did I learn, man? I don't really know. Maybe just take your scales away with you if you go traveling. Weigh yourself more often. I knew that shit anyway. I was just being a stupid motherfucker by not doing it. That being said, like, although I'm not particularly attached to like I don't need to just be shredded all the time. It is better for me. Like, it's more productive, man, because like, just give you an insight into Joey D's life, man. So let's say I'm taking a picture for one of my sponsors, like say Rise or Bulk Powders or whatever, and I'm in the gym and I want to get a good photo. Like, I want to post cool photos, man. I want to post photos that look sick. Everyone does. That's fine, yeah. Now, I want my physique to look as good as it can. And if I'm lean, I can literally just snap a photo and it's fucking good to go, and I'll just slam it straight up and I'll be like, I like my shit. And everyone will be like, okay, yeah, that's a good photo, that you look really lean, I like your shit. Or like, same for like YouTube thumbnails, whatever it is. If you're not lean, quote unquote lean, again, subject by my personal standards, I might take 20 photos, 25, 30 photos on, and then just pick one that's like out, that I would deem acceptable, that I'm happy with. And that's just like, it's just not the most productive use of time, is it? You know what I mean? So that's just a minor thing, but it's, if you're gonna start like using time a bit better, then it's more productive for me to be lean. So, all right, physique plan going forward. Oh shit, maybe I've just thought of another point that should go somewhere else, but let me just say this anyway. So this kind of probably should go in the was it worth it thing. And another reason why I think it probably was worth it, even if once I'm lean, I haven't gained that much muscle, I've at least not lost any. Yeah. And if I'd have been trying to stay, ridiculously lean for the last however long, you're at much more risk of losing gains. And so I certainly don't want my physique to get any worse, like, especially if I was as lean as I was on October 15th when I went on that trip. That's just a recipe for disaster, man. You need some spare calories floating around to save you from the catabolic monster. I just don't think it's good for you to be that lean all the time. So that kind of relates to my physique plan going forward. So now what I'm doing is I'm going to do a slow cut. So I started on the 15th of April, and I honestly think I'll be done, as in lean, properly lean, maybe like late July or something like that, probably. I'm not aiming to do it any faster, because there is literally just no point in bulking if you're then going to try and cut super fast and just lose your gains. I'm going to really focus on trying to keep any gains that I have made, trying to maintain my strength, all that kind of stuff. And what I'm going to do is cut down to a very lean point. Like, I'm going to get very fucking lean, man. Like, I'm going to blow your motherfucking mind with leanness. Yeah, it's going to be very concerning, mate. So people are going to start thinking about sectioning me, because they're going to be like, Joe, you can't be right in the head. This is too lean, man. But I'm only going to do that briefly. Get that lean, take a few photos, bump cals up, and then come back up a little bit, maybe like a good few pounds from my lightest point, and then maintain there. I'm not going to try and maintain the very leanest for any time whatsoever, because I just don't think it's good for you. I don't think it's sustainable. I just don't. It's just not a good idea, and it's unnecessary as well, because even a few pounds up from my leanest will still be, lean to the layman, like to the untrained eye, basically to anyone who's not me and super scrutinous of my physique. So once I've come up from that, I'll probably maintain that for the rest of summer, and then in future I would imagine my bulk and cut phases will just be small ones. So I might do maybe, like, I haven't thought about time frames. It's going to be mini cuts, man. It's going to be like 10 weeks, 2 weeks or something like that. Or maybe like 10 weeks, 3 weeks, as in like bulk cut. Something like that. Anyway, I think that's it. If you have any more questions about stuff, hit me up in the comments. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining me on this bulk. Can everyone say, well done, Joey D. You did the minimum allowed time on a bulk. You did 6 months. You're a sound lad. Ciao, ciao.
Joey Delaney is my hero.